Basically, Foodco has an infrastructure within it where you'll set up your general ledger accounts, your framework for internal reporting, your profit centers, unit code. The program is fully secure to where we can set up custom security so you can limit the access for any position in your company depending on your accounting philosophy. The first thing I really want to talk about is the items themselves because everything is an item. And it doesn't matter if it's something you purchase, something you prepare, whatever it might be. It could be food, liquor, uniforms, china, glass, silver, everything is an item. The philosophies in the program is if you get a bill for something, it goes through Foodco, and then we would distribute it. So you basically have a real-time P&L at the manager's fingertips so that they can evaluate exactly where they're at. The item screen that we're looking at, the item number is your control number. Every item has a name, a case description on how you purchase it, a part description on how you would inventory it if you had a broken case, the unit code that I mentioned. Every item has a unit code, and every calculation in Foodco is going to be predicated on this unit code. That's how we're going to compare costs between vendors. That's how we're going to calculate the cost within the recipes. When we purchase something, take a physical inventory, we calculate those based on number of unit. You have a prep yield for any known shrinkage or wastage in the product. The prep yield, if I factor in that I have a 10% loss on product, what happens to that loss is it factors it back into your unit cost. So any waste amounts that you have will always be passed on to the consumer when you're costing out your recipe. The inventory group very similar to the general ledger account number, although it gets into a little bit more detail so that you can monitor areas that generally are what I refer to as a grazing area, so you can see overall usage. The case cost is the last paid cost, and then we have how many parts per case and how many units are per case. And so it's very simple on a pound item. This is classified as the master information, and then down below we have a number of tabs where you can put in product specification. Foodco retains all transactions within the system, including inventory, purchases, requisitions from other locations. If you're doing sales or orders for outside sales from the point of sale system, any transfers that you send to other locations, and waste values that you've recorded. Each one of these transactions, when you process information through other sections of the program, if you reconcile an invoice and you post it, it creates the transaction. If you take physical inventory, it creates the transaction. Once you've accumulated all your transactions for the accounting period, you calculate the period and it will go through and calculate all of the transactions. And then it'll give you your theoretical versus actual usage. The activity tab is where you can actually specify if it's a sellable item. You can set a targeted cost and set menu group and alternate names. Over here on the right side we have another set of tabs, so it will show you what recipe that item is being used in, the vouchers on what invoices you actually received it on, and then what inventory sheets or worksheets that you have that assigned. Within the program you have drill down capabilities. I can double click on it and it will pull up the recipe so that you can see all of the ingredients that make that up. There are shaded lines in here which are sub recipes, so you can have recipes within recipes as many levels deep as you need. Each recipe has their usage amounts and then the measure description, which will correspond to the way the cook will use it. If it's a sellable item, what is the charge for that item? You have serving information. You can have written instructions on the preparation of it. And then the recipe explosion tab will actually explode that recipe according to all the recipes within the recipes for that, converting the values to how much of each ingredient is allocated towards that item when you sell it. Now, this also has the ability, if you want to scale this up, it will automatically calculate what your needs are for those recipes based on whatever count you want to produce. You can then print the recipe and have a printed recipe. That's a quick look at the recipes. Then we have our vendors tab where you can have as many vendors assigned as you would like. You can also have the same vendor assigned multiple times. Have each of those product numbers available so that when you are importing your bids, you're actually comparing like products so that you can look for the best value. We have an ordering tab for default par levels. We can maintain a perpetual inventory if you have a warehouse environment. We have a multimedia where you can associate audio, video, and pictures on item. You have a unit codes tab which will allow you to add additional unit measures, because in a cook's world, they don't necessarily relate to how we compare the costs as you buy it. For example, with many spices, you buy them by weight, but when you talk to a cook, they want to use it by teaspoon. Now, because you don't have a logical measurement conversion, weight ounce to volume ounce, we allow you to set a ratio to the primary measurement so that you get accurate accountability. We also have a nutrition component that we can cross-reference into a nutrition program if needed. And then we also have HACCP in here for critical control points in production. We have an elaborate search inside the system where we have a quick search, so if you know the name of the item, you can just start typing in the name and it will automatically filter down the list according to what you want to look for. We also have a complete search to where you can use any part of any of the words in it. You'll notice that it finds tomato anywhere in the naming convention of the item, and you can use multiple words to filter it down. You can also search by the vendor product number if you want. When you double click on the item, it just pulls up the item, and again, all the information is there for that particular item.